Welcome back to the Arcane Archives for another captivating deep dive. Today we're going somewhere really interesting, a place where science and esotericism kind of intertwine.
A place where the fabric of reality seems to bend.
Yeah.
To the power of observation and intention, the world of quantum physics.
Yeah, exactly. Quantum physics, a field that really challenges how we think about the universe.
Absolutely. It's where the impossible can become possible.
It all started with this revolution, a huge shift in scientific thought, beginning of the 20th century.
It was a seismic shift, yeah. The foundations of classical physics, they started to crack. And what we found underneath, well, it was a deeper, more mysterious reality.
And from these cracks, like you said, emerged these mind-bending principles.
Superposition.
Entanglement.
The observer effect.
It all sounds like it should be in a science fiction novel.
It really does. But the truth is even stranger than fiction. Take superposition, for example. The idea that possibilities, they exist in this kind of hazy cloud until an observation is made.
So it's like Schrodinger's cat. Both alive and dead at the same time until we look. That thought experiment always gets me. Really makes you question what reality even is.
It does. It challenges our understanding, our intuition about what's real. And this hazy cloud of possibilities, well, it collapses when an observation is made, forcing just one outcome.
So are we like walking around in a state of superposition too?
Yeah.
Our lives just a bunch of collapsed possibilities?
Maybe. Think about it. Every decision you make, every path you choose, solidifies just one reality out of many.
So we're always navigating a world of potential, shaping our reality through our choices. That's kind of unsettling. But what about entanglement? That's where two particles, they're linked. Same fate no matter how far apart they are.
Einstein called it spooky action at a distance.
Spooky is right. So you're saying if you change one particle, the other changes instantly, even if they're like light years away.
Exactly. It defies our understanding of space and time. It's as if they're communicating faster than the speed of light.
But Einstein's own theory of relativity says that's impossible.
Right. Which is why it's so fascinating.
So if particles can be linked like that across the universe, what does that tell us about space and time? Are we more connected than we realize?
It's a profound question. Perhaps those connections we feel, the bonds we form, maybe they have a deeper, more mysterious quality than we understand.
Like our actions, our emotions, maybe they ripple out further than we know. Okay, so we've got superposition, things existing in multiple states at once, and entanglement, particles connected across vast distances. Now, what about the observer effect? The idea that observing something can actually change it.
The observer effect, it's a real head-scratcher. Think of the double slit experiment, shining a light through two slits. You'd expect two bands of light on a screen behind them, right?
Right. Like two lines of light.
But that's not what happens. Instead, we see an interference pattern, as if the light is behaving like waves.
Yeah, that's the wave-particle duality of light. Classic experiment.
But here's where it gets really interesting. If we try to observe which slit each photon goes through, the interference pattern vanishes, and we just see those two bands of light again.
It's like the photons know we're watching and decide to act differently. Some physicists think this hints at the role of consciousness in shaping reality.
It's as if our observation, our consciousness, forces the photons to choose a path.
So we're not just passive observers, we're active participants. Our perception creates reality.
It's a question that has baffled physicists and philosophers for a long time, and it leads us to the question of whether we can actually harness these quantum principles.
Wait, are you talking about using quantum physics to change our lives? Now this is where things get really interesting.
There are techniques, practices inspired by quantum physics. They claim to tap into this hidden potential, things called quantum meditation, quantum affirmations, quantum visualization.
Okay, I've heard those terms before, but I don't really get them. What do they actually mean?
Well, quantum meditation, it encourages you to be completely present, aware. It allows you to tap into all those infinite possibilities of the quantum field. It's about releasing limiting beliefs and becoming open to a reality where anything is possible.
And quantum affirmations, is that just positive self-talk with a quantum twist?
Kind of, but the focus is on aligning your energy with what you want to achieve. So you phrase your desires in the present tense as if they're already happening.
You're basically choosing the reality you want to experience.
Okay.
I kind of get that. In quantum visualization, that's picturing what you want in your mind, right?
Exactly. But you have to create a clear, vivid image of your desired reality. The more detailed and emotionally charged it is, the stronger your intention will be. and it prepares your subconscious mind to take action.
So we're using our minds, our focused intention, to shape reality. It sounds like the law of attraction, those other manifestation techniques I've heard about. But is there any science to back this up? Or is it all just wishful thinking?
This is where things get controversial. There's this really interesting divide between scientists and those who have a more esoteric view of quantum physics.
So on one side, you have the scientists. They want proof. They want to measure things, test things. They want empirical evidence.
Right. The scientific method is all about empirical evidence, reproducible experiments. And while quantum physics itself has been proven over and over again, applying its principles to things like personal growth and manifestation is a different story.
But then there are those who see quantum physics as this bridge between science and spirituality. They believe consciousness plays a bigger role in shaping reality than traditional science acknowledges. And for them, quantum mechanics is proof of this.
Exactly. They point to things like the observer effect as evidence that our minds can influence matter. And they often use personal stories, anecdotes, and experiences as proof of the power of intention and visualization.
So who's right? Is there any way to reconcile these two opposing viewpoints? Or are we just going to forever debate the true nature of reality?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? Take the double slit experiment, for example. Both sides use it to support their claims.
So those who believe in the power of consciousness point to the fact that just by observing the experiment, we change the outcome. But the scientists argue that this can be explained within the framework of quantum mechanics itself without resorting to mystical interpretations.
Exactly. It's a fascinating example of how the same evidence can be interpreted in such different ways.
So it seems like there's still a lot we don't understand about reality and consciousness and their role in the universe. What about fields like parapsychology? They've been trying to study things like telepathy and psychokinesis for decades. Have they found anything?
Parapsychology is a fascinating field, but it's also very controversial. Some studies have shown some interesting results, suggesting that the mind might be able to influence matter in ways we don't fully understand yet.
But like you said, it's controversial.
It is. A lot of those studies have been criticized for their methods and because the results haven't been replicated.
It seems like we're just beginning to explore these possibilities. But the implications are huge. If our thoughts and intentions can shape reality, then what does that mean for our destinies? Are we really in control, or are we just playing out a script that's already written?
Those are profound questions that we each have to grapple with as we navigate this mysterious and ever-changing reality. And maybe the answers lie not in equations and formulas, but within ourselves. Perhaps the answers lie not in equations and formulas, but within ourselves.
It's a journey of self-discovery, for sure. But speaking of journeys, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about some practical applications of quantum physics, things that are already shaping our world, like quantum computers. Are those actually a thing now?
They are. Quantum computers are not science fiction anymore. They exist. And they can do things that would make our best classical computers look like, well, toys.
So we all know about bits, right? The zeros and ones that our computers use.
Right.
But a qubit can be both 0 and 1 at the same time. That's quantum computing for you.
Exactly. Quantum computers use qubits, which can be in a superposition of states, both 0 and 1 at the same time. And that lets them tackle problems that would take classical computers, I don't know, billions of years to solve.
It's hard to even imagine what kind of problems are we talking about, like world-changing stuff.
Think about designing new drugs or materials at the molecular level, simulating complex biological processes, or breaking encryption codes, the ones that protect all our sensitive data.
That's incredible. So quantum computers could really change everything.
They could, but there are still some big hurdles to overcome, like how to maintain those delicate quantum states of the qubits. They're super sensitive to their environment.
So you've got all this power,
Yeah.
but you have to keep it stable. It's a balancing act.
It is. It's amazing that we're even able to try to control these quantum systems.
But we are making progress, and it's happening fast.
Oh, absolutely. We're on the verge of a whole new technological revolution, and it's all thanks to quantum mechanics.
This is really exciting stuff. Okay, let's go back to some of those philosophical ideas we were talking about earlier. You mentioned the debate about whether we can actually use quantum physics to shape our reality, to manifest our desires. What did you mean by that?
Ah, yes. Can we really harness quantum physics to get what we want? It's a question that fascinates a lot of people.
And we talked about some techniques and practices that are based on quantum principles. But I want to go a little deeper into the philosophy behind it.
At the heart of this debate is a fundamental question about reality. Are we just along for the ride in a predetermined universe? Or do we actually have a say in what happens?
That's the question philosophers and theologians have been arguing about for centuries.
Yeah.
But quantum physics throws a whole new wrench into things, wouldn't you say?
It does, because if just observing something can change it, like in the double slit experiment, what does that mean for our own lives? Could our thoughts, beliefs, even our intentions have a real impact on the world around us?
It's an amazing possibility. And some people, even some scientists, believe it's true.
But there's a difference between belief and scientific proof. And while there are a lot of anecdotes and stories about the power of intention and manifestation, the scientific community is still pretty divided on this.
So some researchers say that the principles of quantum physics just don't apply to us, not to our everyday human experiences.
Right. They say those strange quantum behaviors we see at the subatomic level, they kind of average out at larger scales. The laws of classical physics, the ones that govern our world, well, they seem to work differently from the laws of quantum mechanics.
But then you have others who believe that consciousness, or maybe some other non-physical force, bridges the gap between the quantum and classical realms. They say our minds, through our thoughts and beliefs and intentions, can actually influence the way reality unfolds.
It's a fascinating idea, but it's important to remember that it's still just a theory. We have to be careful about jumping to conclusions.
Right. We need to be skeptical, we need to look for evidence. But even if we put aside those more speculative interpretations of quantum physics, there's still something important to learn from all this.
There is. It's the recognition that we're not just passive bystanders in the universe. We have an active role to play in shaping our own reality. The choices we make, the things we do, what we believe, it all contributes to how our lives unfold.
We may not be able to bend the laws of physics to our will, but we do have the power to influence our own destinies. But how much of that comes down to what we believe?
That's a great question. Can our beliefs really shape our reality? It's something philosophers, theologians, and scientists have been debating for a long time.
And it's especially relevant in the context of quantum physics, where the act of observation seems to be so important.
It is. If our beliefs shape how we see things, and how we see things can change the behavior of matter, like some interpretations of quantum physics suggest, then it makes sense that our beliefs could actually have a real impact on the world.
It's a powerful thought, the idea that our beliefs could literally shape our reality. But is there any science to back this up, or is it just wishful thinking?
There's a lot of research in psychology and neuroscience that suggests that what we believe can have a huge impact on how we think, how we feel, and how we act.
Like those studies that show that people who believe they can achieve something are more likely to actually achieve it.
Exactly. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe you can do something, you're more likely to work hard and overcome challenges.
So our beliefs shape our actions, and our actions shape our reality. But is there a deeper connection to quantum physics?
Now that's the million-dollar question. Some researchers believe that our beliefs might actually affect the way reality unfolds at the quantum level. Like, they might increase the probability of certain things happening.
So they're saying that our minds, through our beliefs and intentions, can actually collapse the wave function, shape the reality we experience. Is that even possible?
It's an exciting idea, but it's still mostly speculation. We need to be careful about drawing conclusions.
So the link between what we believe and quantum reality is still being explored. But it's clear that what we believe has a huge impact on our lives. What about spirituality? How does that fit into all of this?
A lot of spiritual traditions talk about the idea that everything is interconnected, about the power of consciousness, and about how our thoughts and intentions can shape reality. These concepts sound a lot like the principles of quantum physics.
Like the idea of oneness or unity consciousness. It's similar to the concept of entanglement in quantum physics, isn't it?
Yes, it is. The idea that things that seem separate are actually connected at the quantum level could be a reflection of how everything in the universe is connected.
And the idea that our consciousness plays an active role in shaping reality, like the observer effect suggests, well, that fits with the emphasis on mindfulness and intention in many spiritual practices.
Exactly. The idea that we're not just watching the universe, but actively participating in it, is something you find in ancient wisdom traditions from all over the world. But are these just metaphors? Or is there a real scientific connection? That's what scientists and spiritual seekers are trying to figure out.
So quantum physics is giving us a new way to look at those old wisdom traditions. But are we mixing up science and spirituality? Is that a problem?
Well, science and spirituality are really different ways of looking at the world. Science tries to understand the physical world through observation and experiments and logic. Spirituality is about meaning and purpose and connecting with something bigger than ourselves. They ask different questions and they use different methods to find answers.
So there might be some interesting parallels, but we can't say that quantum physics proves spiritual beliefs. It's more about expanding our understanding, thinking about reality in new ways.
Exactly. Quantum physics challenges us to reconsider what we think we know about reality. It makes us think about things that might have seemed crazy a few decades ago. It opens up this dialogue between science and spirituality, two things that have often been seen as totally separate.
This deep dive into quantum physics and spirituality has been amazing. We've explored some truly mind-bending concepts. But like with any journey into the unknown, we have to be careful.
We do. It's easy to get carried away by quantum mysticism. But it's important to stay skeptical and think critically.
Don't believe everything you hear. Watch out for confirmation bias. And always look for evidence. But that doesn't mean we should dismiss the big questions raised by quantum physics or the wisdom offered by spiritual traditions.
Right. We should embrace the mystery of the universe. Keep exploring with open minds. And let ourselves be transformed by what we discover.
Because at the end of the day, it's that search for understanding, both scientific and spiritual, that makes us human. But speaking of the human experience, what does quantum physics tell us about free will? Do we really have it? Or are we just puppets controlled by the laws of physics?
That's the classic debate. Are our choices really our own? Or is everything predetermined? It's a question that's particularly relevant when you think about quantum physics, where randomness is so important.
Exactly. If subatomic particles behave randomly, does that mean our actions are random too? Can we really control our own destinies?
It's a question that has baffled philosophers and scientists for a very long time. And while quantum physics may not give us a clear answer, it definitely makes the discussion more complicated.
Some interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest that randomness is built into reality, that even at the subatomic level, things aren't completely predetermined. This idea of quantum indeterminacy challenges the old idea of a clockwork universe, where everything follows strict rules.
Instead, it suggests that chance is woven into the fabric of reality.
So maybe it's not about absolute control versus complete determinism. Maybe it's a bit of both.
Maybe. We might not be able to break the laws of physics, but we might be able to choose from different possibilities within those laws.
So it's like we're not puppets on strings, but dancers. We can improvise even though there are rules. We can choose how we move and express ourselves.
That's a good way to think about it. But how do we reconcile this idea of quantum indeterminacy with cause and effect? If things are random at the quantum level, why does the world seem so predictable?
That's a good question. One possibility is that all that randomness we see at the quantum level averages out as things get bigger. So we end up with predictable behaviors in the world we experience.
It's kind of like flipping a coin. One coin toss is random, but if you flip it 1,000,000 times, you'll get pretty close to 50 heads and tails.
So even though individual particles might act unpredictably, the behavior of trillions of them together creates a kind of statistical certainty.
Exactly. So there's a balance between chance and necessity, randomness and order.
So maybe that's how free will works.
Maybe. Our choices might be influenced by lots of things, like our genes, our environment, even those random fluctuations in the quantum world. But ultimately, the decision of how to act, how to respond to all of that, could be ours.
Very interesting idea. That we're not just products of our circumstances, but active agents in shaping our own lives.
It is. And even if we can't definitively prove that free will exists, I think it's something worth believing in. Because if we believe our choices matter, that we have the power to make a difference, then we're more likely to act intentionally, take responsibility for our actions, and try to make the world a better place.
It's about recognizing the power we have while understanding that there are limits to what we know.
Exactly. And maybe that's what it means to be human. Navigating that balance between free will and determinism, chance and necessity, what we know and what we don't know.
Speaking of what we don't know, let's talk about a field that's been really influenced by quantum physics. Quantum biology. I'm not very familiar with it. What is it exactly?
Quantum biology is all about exploring the idea that quantum phenomena might be involved in biological processes. For a long time, scientists thought that biology was too messy and complex for delicate quantum effects to have any real impact. But lately, we've been finding evidence that quantum phenomena might be at play in a lot of biological processes.
You're telling me that the strange world of quantum particles might be happening inside our own cells.
That's right. For example, there's evidence that quantum tunneling, where particles can pass through barriers that they shouldn't be able to, might be involved in how enzymes work. Enzymes are essential for all sorts of chemical reactions in our bodies.
So tiny particles are basically teleporting inside us to keep us alive.
Kinda, yeah. And there's also research suggesting that quantum entanglement might be involved in photosynthesis, how plants use sunlight to make energy.
Wait, so plants might be using quantum entanglement to grow.
It's possible, and scientists are looking into it. And there's even some speculation that quantum phenomena might be involved in how we smell things. Some researchers think that the way we perceive odors might involve quantum tunneling of electrons in our noses.
So we might be literally smelling the quantum world. This is all so incredible.
It is. A lot of this research is still in its early stages, and there's a lot we don't know yet about how quantum mechanics works in biology. But quantum biology is growing quickly as a field, and we're likely to see a lot of amazing discoveries in the years to come.
It seems like every time we dig deeper into the quantum realm, we uncover new mysteries and change our understanding of the universe. It never ends, does it?
It doesn't. Quantum physics is constantly evolving, and there's still so much we need to learn. But the fact that it's already having such a big impact on things like biology and technology shows that we're just getting started. Who knows what we'll discover as we continue to explore the quantum world? It doesn't. Quantum physics is constantly evolving, and there's still so much we need to learn. But the fact that it's already having such a big impact on things like biology and technology shows that we're just getting started. Who knows what we'll discover as we continue to explore the quantum world?
This whole conversation has been incredible. We've explored ideas that challenge how we understand reality. Things like superposition and entanglement, the observer effect, even the idea of quantum consciousness. We've talked about how quantum physics is influencing technology, biology, even spirituality. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's important to step back and think about the bigger picture. What does it all mean?
You're right. Because quantum physics isn't just a bunch of theories and equations. It has the potential to change our world in huge ways, both practically and philosophically.
On the practical side, we're already seeing amazing technologies like quantum computers and quantum sensors, things that could revolutionize medicine, communications, materials science. And as we learn more about the quantum world, who knows what other applications we'll find?
But maybe even more important than the practical applications are the philosophical questions that quantum physics raises. Questions about what reality is, the role of consciousness, the meaning of life itself. Quantum physics makes us rethink our assumptions about the universe and our place in it. It forces us to confront the limits of what we know and embrace the mystery of it all.
And even though it might not give us all the answers, it definitely gives us a new way of looking at the world. It reminds us that reality is much stranger and more interconnected than we ever thought. And that can be a very liberating realization.
It is. It frees us from that old classical Newtonian way of thinking. It helps us see reality as something more expansive, more connected.
A reality where we're not just watching from the sidelines, but actively shaping our own destinies.
Exactly, and maybe that's the most important lesson of all. Quantum physics isn't just about understanding how tiny particles behave, it's about understanding the nature of reality itself, and realizing that we have a role to play in shaping that reality, both as individuals and together.
It's a powerful thought.
Yeah.
That we're not just along for the ride, but co-creators of our own experience. Which leads to another question. We've talked about how quantum physics influences our individual lives. But what about the bigger picture, the universe as a whole? How does quantum physics change our understanding of the cosmos?
Well, quantum physics is crucial for understanding the universe at the grandest scales. It gives us a framework for understanding the very beginning of the universe, the Big Bang, and how stars and galaxies and all the structures we see today evolved.
So quantum physics lets us look back billions of years to the birth of the universe.
That's right. To understand those early moments, we need to go beyond classical physics, into the quantum realm, where the laws of nature work differently. For example, the Big Bang theory relies heavily on quantum mechanics to describe how the universe started. Imagine everything, the entire universe, squeezed into an incredibly tiny point, a singularity. That's where it all began.
It's hard to even fathom that everything we see, the stars, planets, even us, came from that tiny point.
It is mind-boggling. And at that singularity, classical physics just doesn't work. We need quantum mechanics to describe what happened.
So to understand the birth of the universe, we need quantum physics. What about how it evolved? How did we go from that tiny point to the vast cosmos we see today?
Quantum physics helps us understand that too. Think about quantum fluctuations. These are random changes in the energy of empty space. These tiny fluctuations are believed to have been really important in the formation of the first galaxies.
So these little bursts of energy from nothingness, they're the seeds of galaxies. That's kind of beautiful.
It is. And quantum physics also helps us grapple with some of the biggest mysteries in the universe. Things like dark matter and dark energy.
I've heard those terms, but I don't really understand them. What are they?
They're mysterious things that make up most of the universe's mass and energy. We can't see them directly, but we know they're there because of their gravity. It's like there's this whole hidden world, invisible to us, that's shaping the cosmos.
It's kind of creepy, but also amazing to think that we only see a tiny part of what's really out there.
It is. And while we don't fully understand what dark matter and dark energy are, quantum physics might be able to help us solve these cosmic puzzles.
This conversation has taken us from the tiniest particles to the largest structures in the universe. And it seems like quantum physics is the connection. It's amazing that the same laws that govern those tiny particles also govern the universe as a whole.
It shows how powerful and universal physics is. It reminds us that everything is connected, from the smallest atom to the largest galaxy.
We're all part of this cosmic dance guided by the same rules. And speaking of connection, it makes you wonder, are we alone in this vast universe? Does quantum physics tell us anything about the possibility of life beyond Earth?
That's a question that has always captivated humans. And while quantum physics might not give us definite answers, it does make us think about what's possible in new ways.
Because if there's one thing quantum physics has taught us, it's that the universe is much stranger and more complex than we ever imagined.
Exactly. And the laws of physics, as we understand them, they work everywhere in the universe. And those laws allowed life to arise on Earth. So given how vast the universe is, with billions of stars and galaxies, it seems unlikely that we're the only ones here.
It's an amazing thought.
Yeah.
If the ingredients for life are everywhere, then maybe life itself is much more common than we used to think.
The Drake equation, which attempts to estimate how many civilizations might be out there, suggests there could be thousands, maybe millions of civilizations in our galaxy alone. Of course, there are a lot of assumptions in that equation. We still have a lot to learn.
But the search for extraterrestrial life continues. And maybe quantum physics holds the key to finding it.
Maybe it does. Quantum computers, for instance, could help us analyze all the data we're collecting from telescopes and other instruments. They could help us find those subtle signs of life on other planets.
The idea of discovering another intelligent civilization out there is incredible. It would change how we see ourselves and our place in the cosmos. It would open up new possibilities for exploration and collaboration. And it would show how deeply interconnected everything is, which is something that quantum physics reveals at every level.
It really is a testament to the power of science and our human drive to explore.
As we wrap up this deep dive into quantum physics, it's clear that we've only just scratched the surface of this incredible field. But even this brief look has challenged how we see reality and revealed a universe that is much stranger and more interconnected than we ever imagined.
And as we continue to explore, I'm sure we'll find more mind-blowing discoveries that will push the limits of our understanding.
But these challenges shouldn't scare us. They should inspire us, make us want to dig deeper, ask more questions. The more we learn about the universe, the more we realize how much we still don't know.
That's true.
And that's what makes science so amazing. It's a never-ending journey of discovery, driven by our curiosity and our desire to make sense of this incredible universe.
A journey we're all on, together. And as we explore the unknown, with quantum physics as our guide, I'm sure we'll find even more wonders that will change how we see ourselves and the cosmos.
That's a wrap for today. Stay curious and see you in the next episode.